album.
Was it a slow burn early on, or did it catch on right away?
Nah, man. Well, what happened with the record was, you know what I'm saying, because I came out of nowhere, that a lot of the DJs started fronting at first. We would try to service the record, they would front. But then shout out to my brother Red Alert. Shout out to Uncle Red, you know what I'm saying? As he does with everybody's, he's like the greatest A&R ever. Cause he has broken so many records, man. You know, you can go back to Karis One and all that. Like he has been responsible for breaking some of the most iconic records of all time. He put his ear on it and said, "This is a go," and then everybody else followed suit after that. I had no Flex fronted on it at first. As soon as Red said it's a go, oh yeah, we blasting off the bombs, all that. You know what I'm saying? But once Red put the cosign on it, it was over from there, man. It was like, oh, now we playing catch up. You know what I'm saying? Like it took off so fast. We were not prepared. You know what I'm saying, with regards to the album. And back then, once you had a single that was popping, they wanted, the labels wanted to put an album out immediately. Mind you, the single was a great success, but it did not set Tracey Lee, the artist, up. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? Um, Especially without a video. Like that joint took off in the fall of 96, end of fall, like late October, early November. We didn't shoot the video until late January, early February, and the video didn't come out until late February. It didn't get into Billboard charts until late February, maybe early August, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I mean, early March. So, and then the album drops the end of March, early April, you know what I mean? Like, so still to this day, there's a lot of people that still don't know who did that record. You know what I'm saying? But it just took off so fast. Matter of fact, when we were making the album, because the label now wants the album, you know, we put that album together with a lot of the records that I did on my demo. I say at least five, six of those 6 out of the 14 records was on the demo. And those were demo records that I had done. We dropped that album in 97. A lot of those records I had did in 94. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, well, thank God, you know what I'm saying? Like those records are timeless too, because people didn't know them records were 3 years old. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man, that record, the theme didn't give us a shot in hell to catch up. It just took off. Once it took off, that was it, man.
So prior to recording the theme, did you already have a deal with Universal? I know you were with Bystorm, but was you guys already connected with Universal at that time?
Yeah, a little bit. Matter of fact, Carl Martin. We weren't with Universal, but we were under MCA. We were under the MCA umbrella, and Mark had to get me off of that deal to get me on the By Storm. And Carl Martin is, one of the, the lead writers in of the group Shy. So Shy had, with that record, If I Ever Fall in Love, they had been such a success. You know what I'm saying? They went double platinum, something like that. They wound up giving Carl a deal, and then I signed with Carl. You know what I'm saying? Another Howard cat again. That's how strong the Howard network is. But yeah, Mark had to get me off of that deal to get me onto his deal. They worked something out. I don't know what they worked out, but it was kind of still under the umbrella. You know what I mean?
Right. What was that deal with Universal initially for? One album, two album, multi?
Oh shit, 7 albums. You know how them albums, you know how them deals were back in the day, man. We all signed for like 7 joints. You know what I mean? I was just looking over my contract. What was that? Yesterday, day before, because I'm trying to handle something with that. But yeah, that was a horrible contract. Horrible. You understand me? But that's what we did to get on. Everybody wanted to just get on back then, at least in the East Coast. Now, out west, down south, they did it different. You know what I'm saying? And kudos to them. They understood the game. Independence was where it's at. You know what I mean? But on the East Coast, we were trying to get record deals. So we were signing whatever. You know what I'm saying?
The theme's blowing up. You've got 5 songs or so in the stash for your debut album. Where were you at mentally going into this debut album, and what was the creative process?
I mean, I just at that point I just wanted to be heard. Like I mentioned before, man, this is now a 10-year process. You know what I'm saying? You know, we're actively trying to get deals in 1986. You know what I mean? Now it's 1996. Now is the time. I want to get heard. You know what I mean? I think I'm nice. I know I'm nice. Now I need the world to see and hear that I'm nice. So that was the whole process, man. You know, again, shout out to Dot, you know, for implementing the record making aspect of it, though. And I think, you know, that whole process was invaluable to this day. Because those are some of the things that I pride myself on. I pride myself on being able to make records, and also being able to lend, you know, that advice to up and coming artists with regards to making a record. You know what I mean? And a lot of these younger cats are a lot further along than I was at that particular, at you know, at that stage or at that age. But it's still little nuances and things that I, you know, kind of, you know, like to bring and think I do bring to the table when I do hear certain artists and their music and, you know, how it sounds and things like that. It's almost like, you know, going through that whole process with Dot gave me the cheat code. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm able to hear even records that's out there, you know, that are actually getting pushed and people think that are incredible records. I can hear little things and I'm like, yo, this record could have really took off if they would have did X, Y, and Z. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, but that's what, you know, that whole process allowed me to do is it allowed me to soak up some game and be able to perfect my craft in a way that, you know, has become, you know, a centerpiece of what I'm about and how I approach, you know, certain music now.
Did you have creative control over that project?
Yeah, man, and that's amazing. And shout out to Mark Pitts for allowing that because that's kind of unheard of, you know, as a you know as a new artist with on the first album. You know, we like I said, there was 5 or 6 records that were part of my demo that we changed nothing. If we did change, it was maybe to do the vocal over a little bit just to make it sound cleaner in a you know in a better studio, if you will. You know what I'm saying? But the musicality of it, the picking of the samples and the beats and the direction that I wanted to go in with regards to the album itself, um, you know, I had immense creative control over it. And I think that was largely due because we were all kind of learning together. You know what I mean? Like Mark, this is the first time he's actually an executive, you know, if you will, on a project. This is his first first label. You know, and if anybody don't know who Mark Pitts is, I suggest you do your Googles. He's like the biggest executive, you know, with regards to black, not even just black artists, but like he's the head of black music at is it Sony? It's one of them big threes, but he's the top dog. He discovered Chris Brown, you know what I'm saying? He's responsible for J. Cole, you know what I'm saying? He's responsible for Miguel. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you talking, you know, he executive produced Usher's biggest album of all time. You know what I mean? The Confessions joint. So you look up Mark Pitts, man. He's a big deal. You dig what I mean?
So some of your favorite moments from those studio sessions?
Oh man. I guess it's the you know, the fact my brothers was around, like you know, the Reaps and One Step and you know, Parlay and Mills and you know, just my man Couse on top. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they were always around, like, so there was a lot of jokes. There was a lot of extracurriculars. There was a lot of, you know what I mean, adult beverages. There was a lot of, you know what I mean, medicinals. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but I was comfortable because my brothers was there. You know what I mean? And you know, that's one of the things that I loved about our the way we came in the game. We came in the game together and we didn't succumb to anything that the game offered. I mean, that and you know, to this day, I think that was, you know, to our detriment with regards to achieving certain success. or what people deem to be success in the game, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. As long as my peoples was there, I'm good. You know, you can have whatever it is that you're trying to offer. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want that. I wanted to be comfortable in my surroundings and in my space so that I could be, you know, the creative that I wanted to be. So, you know, those were the good times to me, man. You know, just because it felt like nothing had changed, you know what I'm saying, with regards to, you know, where we were before we signed a deal and where we are now with the deal. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm sure a lot of people didn't like that, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, there was a certain arrogance to it. Like we didn't care, you know what I'm saying? So yeah.
What was that session like with Big on Keep Your Hands High?
Oh man, you know, you already know. Do I really got to answer that question? You know the answer to that, man. It was, you know what I'm saying? Like look, man, you talking about, you know, the creme de la creme at the time, man. Big is big. This is the notorious B.I.G. He is the top MC in the world, man. And the dude's personality was outstanding. You know what I'm saying? Like we immediately had a bond. You dig? Um, I think he respected me as an MC. I for sure respected his lyrical prowess, you know what I mean? And so, you know, when I got on the phone with him, you know what I mean, to discuss the concept, you know, saying after he agreed to do the record with me, you know, he was like, yeah, let's do it. You know what I'm saying? Like immediately, like, you know, because for those that you know that are out there, you know, putting, you know, or trying to pit or trying to, you know, trying to determine that when me and Big get in the booth that, you know, one is better than the other, and you know he bodied me and all this other stuff. This is a conceptual record. You got to listen to it, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, you got to listen to both parties. You know what I'm saying? Like for those that thought Big bodied me and took his lyrics to someplace else, you got to ask yourself, why did he go there with me? You know what I'm saying? In there, right? Why did he go there? Like, if you thought that was Big, one of Big's best verses in the world, why did he go there? Like, you got to be motivated. You know what I'm saying? You got to be motivated to take it to that level. At least I know if I'm sitting in the room with somebody that I think is super nice, I am going to step my game up, right? Especially if you're saying that his lyrics are the best, some of his best bars ever. Think about that. So, you know, I think that's what we did when we was in that room. You know what I'm saying? When we was in that studio. Shout out to Primo. We was at D&D Studios. Um, but you know, it was an incredible night, and not only because you know I think we made a classic, but because of the conversation. You know what I mean? Like we was in there for 8 hours, so we was chopping it up about everything. You know, he's giving me jewels about the game at that particular time that I had no idea about. He was telling me what, you know, some of his plans were going to be after he got out the game, because that was the plan. You know what I'm saying? Like he was setting things up with he was setting things up with himself, you know what I'm saying, with his company and stuff like that, man. So, you know, that whole experience, man, was just, you know, I wouldn't trade it for the world.